Diabetes, it's everywhere, isn't it? Affecting more and more people globally. It's a massive health issue.
It really is. And for so many folks managing it, one key thing is, well, metformin hydrochloride.
Right, the actual medicine, or rather the key part of the medicine.
Exactly. The API, the active pharmaceutical ingredient, that's what we're digging into today, the global market for this specific API.
Okay.
We've got some market analysis here. It gives us a good look at, the current size, where it might be heading.
Yeah, I saw that. It breaks down current market size, future growth, region by region.
All that good stuff. Overall numbers, where demand's high, how fast things are changing. It's a really useful snapshot.
So our mission today, basically, is to pull out the important bits from this analysis.
Pretty much. Understand what's driving this market, the dynamics at play, and what it all might mean for, well, diabetes treatment and the pharma industry generally.
Okay, let's do it. Where do we start? The big picture, global numbers.
Sounds good. So the analysis estimates the global metformin hydrochloride API market at about USD 351.5 million for 2025.
351.5 million. Okay. But it's growing, right? That's the key thing.
Oh yeah, definitely growing, not stagnant at all.
What are the projections looking like?
They're projecting it to hit USD 539.4 million by 2033.
Wow, okay. That's quite a jump.
It is. If you look at the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, that works out to 5.5% between 2025 and 2033.
And the main reason for that growth, I mean, that seems obvious, but...
It is. It's the rising number of people with diabetes worldwide. Simple as that, really.
More people diagnosed, more need for the treatment, more need for the core ingredient.
Exactly. The demand just keeps climbing.
All right, so that's the global view. Now, you mentioned regional breakdowns. That's where it often gets interesting, doesn't it? Where's the biggest slice of the pie right now?
Right now, North America, they hold over 40% of the market share.
Over 40%.
Yeah, the market size there for 2025 is pegged at USD 130.06 million. Probably reflects, established healthcare, maybe earlier diagnosis, higher spending generally.
Makes sense. And their growth, is it keeping pace with that global 5.5%?
A bit slower, actually. The projected CGR for North America is 4.3%.
Okay.
And within that, the U.S. is the big one, obviously. About USD 102.61 million in 2025, growing at around 4.1%.
And the report links that U.S. growth to R&D investment.
Yeah, partly. Investment in pharmaceutical research is mentioned as a driver.
Interesting. What about Canada and Mexico?
Canada's estimated at 15.61 million for 2025, but with a slightly higher CAGR, 5.1%, maybe linked to their healthcare infrastructure.
Right.
And Mexico, around 11.84 million, growing at 4.8%.
Okay, so North America leads in size. What about Europe? They're usually a major player, too.
They are. Europe's got over 30% of the market share. That's about USD 101.94 million in 2025.
And their growth rate?
Projected at 4.6% CAGR through 2033, pretty close to North America's rate.
Which countries are the main ones in Europe for this?
Germany, the UK, and Russia are highlighted. Germany's around 20.18 million, 4.8% growth. They mentioned government initiatives there. The UK is about 17.13 million, but growing a bit faster at 5.4%, likely thanks to their advanced healthcare systems.
And Russia?
Russia's estimated at 15.80 million, but slower growth, around 3.6% CAGR.
It's really clear how national policies and systems impact even the market for a basic ingredient. Okay, let's shift gears Asia-Pacific. The data suggested something big was happening there.
Oh, absolutely. APAC is where the story gets really dynamic. They hold about 23% of the market now, roughly USD 84.36 million in 2025.
Okay, 23%. So smaller than North America or Europe currently?
Currently, yes. But the growth projection, it's the fastest by far. A huge 8.3% CAGR projected from 2025 to 2033.
8.3%. Wow. That's significantly higher than the others.
It really is. It's not just about rising diabetes numbers, though that's a huge part of it. It's also about, massive investments in healthcare and expanding local drug manufacturing.
Right, especially in places like China and India.
Exactly. Those two are major drivers. China's projected market is about 35.43 million, growing at 7.8%. India, though smaller at 8.44 million now, has an incredible projected CGR of 10.2%.
10% growth in India. That's remarkable.
It is. And Japan's also significant, around 11.64 million, with 6.8% growth expected.
So that combination population, rising diagnoses, and growing local production is really fueling things in APAC.
Precisely. It's a powerful mix.
What about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa, are they seeing similar trends?
South America has just over 5% market share, about 13.36 million in 2025, growing at a decent 5.8% CAGR.
Any key countries there?
Brazil is the largest, about 5.72 million, growing at 6.4%. They mentioned increasing local manufacturing capacity there. Argentina is smaller, 2.2%, but growing faster at 6.7%, possibly linked to more focus on preventive health.
Okay. And the Middle East?
Smaller share, around 2%. That's about 14.06 million in 2025. But the growth is solid, projected at 6.0% CAGR.
Driven by similar factors, diabetes rates and healthcare efforts.
Yeah, mainly Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Rising diabetes prevalence and government healthcare spending are the key drivers mentioned.
And finally, Africa. Looks like the smallest market.
It is, yeah. Around 1% share, roughly 7.73 million in 2025. And the projected growth is much lower, only 1.8% CAGR. South Africa and Nigeria are the main markets mentioned. Diabetes is increasing, awareness is growing, but the API market growth seems slower, probably due to, various economic and access factors.
Got it. That gives us a really good map of the world for this API. The report also segmented the market in other ways, right? Like byproduct type and end user.
That's right. On the product side, no surprise, standard metformin hydrochloride is the biggest segment. It's the go-to first-line treatment.
Makes sense.
But the fastest growing segment is metformin hydrochloride DC.
DC, what's that?
Direct compression. It's basically a form of the API that's easier for manufacturers to press directly into tablets. More efficient production.
Ah, okay. So it saves time and money in manufacturing.
Potentially, yeah. So demand for that specific type is picking up fast.
And the end users, who's buying all this API?
Well, the biggest buyers are pharmaceutical companies, obviously. They're the ones making the final pills and syrups.
Sure.
But interestingly, the fastest growing segment of end users is contract research organizations, CROs.
CROs, why them?
It seems to be driven by all the R&D happening. More research into diabetes, more clinical trials, maybe looking at metformin and new combinations or formulations. So these research outfits need more of the API for their studies.
Right. Increased research activity directly fuels demand from CROs.
Okay. What about the overall market dynamics? Drivers, restraints, trends?
Well, the main driver, as we've said, is the relentless rise in global diabetes prevalence. Can't overstate that.
Definitely.
Also, the increasing use of combination therapies using metformin alongside other drugs, and just general advancements in how drugs are formulated, making them better or easier to take.
Okay. And what's holding the market back or slowing it down?
The report points to things like regulatory hurdles. Strict compliance and quality standards costs time and money. Always a factor in pharma.
Yeah. And then there's pricing pressure, especially in the generics market where metformin lives. Plus, just intense competition between manufacturers.
So, competitive pressures and regulations, what about key trends shaping the future?
Two big ones stand out. First, this growing global push towards preventive healthcare and earlier diagnosis. If you catch diabetes earlier, you might start treatment like metformin sooner.
Right, potentially extending the patient pool over time.
Exactly. And second, the ongoing growth of generic drug manufacturing worldwide. As patents expire on other drugs, you see more generics, often including metformin, which helps with access.
Makes sense. So finally, what did the report say about who the actual players are, the companies involved?
It described the market as highly competitive. Lots of players, big global companies, and smaller regional ones too. It names a few key ones like Intas Pharma, Bal Pharma, but there are many others.
And any recent examples of what these companies are doing?
Yeah, a few interesting examples like Sun Pharma launched a liquid version of extended-release metformin, Rymet R, in the U.S. a few years back.
Okay.
More recently, Milan had plans as of March 2024 for a combo drug with extended-release metformin. And around the same time, Theon Pharma in India launched a new combo drug using sustained-release metformin.
So still quite a bit of activity and innovation even around such an established drug.
Definitely. Refining formulations, creating combinations. It shows the market is still very active.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've got a big market here, over $350 million globally for just the metformin API in 2025. Growing steadily towards, what, almost $540 million by 2033.
Right, a solid 5.5% global growth rate.
And we see clear regional differences. North America is biggest now, but wow, Asia Pacific is growing incredibly fast, over 8%.
That APAC growth is really the standout dynamic, yeah.
Yeah.
Driven by that rising diabetes prevalence, which is the key engine everywhere, but also by expanding local manufacturing there.
And we also saw trends like uh, formulations getting more efficient, like the DC type, and research organizations playing a bigger role as end users.
Exactly. The CRO growth reflects the ongoing R&D effort in the diabetes space.
So, thinking about all this, what's the final thought for our listeners? What does this picture of the metformin API market tell us about maybe the bigger picture of diabetes care?
Well, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Considering these dynamics, the sheer growth driven by prevalence, the regional shifts, the focus on manufacturing efficiency and research, what does this signal about where the pharmaceutical industry's priorities lie? And maybe more critically, what does it tell us about the challenge of getting this essential medicine to everyone who needs it affordably all around the world?
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
It highlights this constant tension, between the rising tide of chronic disease, the push for technological and formulation improvements, and the economic realities of drug production and access. This metformin market is like a lens onto those much bigger forces shaping global health. What do you think it all points towards for the future?